This is a Stock Trading Reality Podcast, episode 76.
My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, Commander of the Armies of the North, General of the Felix Legions.
This is the Stock Trading Reality Podcast, where you get to see the realistic side of a trader's journey. Get inspired and stay motivated by everyday normal people who are currently on their journey to trading success. And this is your host. He is a sucker for coupons, Clay Trader.
And that is 100% true. It's actually funny because in episode 75, we talked a little bit about budgeting, and I made the comment that yeah, maybe some people hear the word budget and then they think of like sweet old grandma sitting on the couch clipping coupons. But that would be me. Well, not really me, but more so my wife. But I am a total sucker for coupons. Coupons are like the greatest thing ever. And if you ever go to the grocery store and you're paying full price for something, you're not doing it right, because there's definitely going to be some sort of coupon out there at some point. So when you see them, take advantage of it. But and little bits add up over time. You know, it's like investing. Compounding interest does add up over time. A little bit of savings here and there and over there and down there and up there over time, it's going to add up to like, I would say like at least a vacation. Like you could go someplace for all the little, quarters and 50 cents and 10 cents and I'd save $1 here, save $1 there. I mean, it really adds up. So I fully realize that coupons, some people are like, well, this guy's a loser. I'm turning off the podcast. Just give me a chance, okay? We have a great guest today. But I love coupons. I like to get paid to shop, and a penny saved is a penny earned. So when you're saving that money, you're getting paid to cut out that coupon or whatever. And heck, with the digital day and age, I don't even think you probably have to use a scissor anymore. But Ches, I promise I'll only be a little bit mad at you. I mean, are you a big fan of coupons? Do you ever use them? Or maybe just alternate forms of coupons where, I'm only going to buy that unless they have like some sort of like 10% discount sale or something like that.
So on Saturdays is when I have my free reign of eating garbage and eating whatever I want, and the rest of the week I'm completely disciplined about it. So Saturdays I completely neglect savings in that sense, but what we do generally here is we do, I know Costco is a nationwide brand here, so what we'll do is we'll just buy in bulk. That's kind of the best way we found savings here, because the grocery stores, to be completely honest, are just a total ripoff here, and that's just kind of the state in general. But if you buy in bulk and things like that, that's how we generally save the most money. And I eat the same meals every week, so it's pretty simple for me. Kelly, we've been working really hard on getting her to kind of make her own lunches and dinners and stuff, because that just saves a ton. Versus a lot of her coworkers, they go out to dinner every single night, and I'm like, I don't think you guys understand how much money you're spending, because I used to do that at my old job 5 years ago. But yeah, now we keep it simple and we buy in bulk, and that's how we do our savings.
Okay, we're going to do a quick little math experiment here, Ches. So let's see, there's 5 work days in a week, right?
4 for her because they work 12s, but yeah.
Okay, so we'll do 4 because maybe you don't do every day, but 4. So what do you think an average lunch is? Like, I'm envisioning like a $7.99 meal, so that's $8, right?
No, for these people, it's probably going to be like $12.
All right, but we'll go with $8 for the, because
okay,
some people listening might be in like Mobile, Alabama, or Anchorage, Alaska, where the cost of living isn't as. So let's go $8. We'll say property tax or income taxes. We'll just say a modest 5%. Let's see.
I wish we had 5%.
So that's $8.40 per meal, and we said what 30 or times 4 because there's 4 days in a week, so that's $33. There's 4 weeks in a month, or let's just go 52 weeks in a year, right? Am I?
Yep.
So that times 52 is $1,747. So in a year, you basically, on going out and eating at lunch, you're spending essentially what you could, and I've been looking for at vacations for my wife and I, because it's our 10-year wedding anniversary coming up. So the point being that I've recently been looking at vacations. I can tell you that for $1,747, for one person, you can go to some really, really nice all-inclusive type places. So, I mean, point here, and that's only 1 year. I mean, if you do this for, the 30 years of your working career, actually, let's do that. So you do that for 30 years. That's $52,000 that you've been spending to go out to lunch at only $8. And that's pretty conservative. Like Ches said, it probably is a little bit more depending on where you live. But
that's a year of someone's salary just gone in food.
Yep. And that's only at a 5%, state tax too. And I don't know, Michigan here, it's more than that, but that's besides the point. So I guess that was a long way of going that's awesome that you and Kelly are trying to work on that, because holy crap, it sure does add up very quickly. So this is not a personal finance podcast, although I think maybe we should start doing some of those episodes because it's such an important thing. But anyways, we are getting way off topic. We have a great guest today. He's younger on the age spectrum, still in college, but you would not guess it based off of his answers. And I actually felt super impressed. The first thing he says is, well, first off, I'd like to thank you guys for having me. I think that's the first person to ever say that. So it's like maybe he has a future in politics someday. But really good interview. And he's in a pretty unique situation with his current kind of college program, what he's doing with school and taking time off to trade. So we'll let him explain more of that. But I tried to trounce on him multiple times. I was setting booby traps all over the place. And did he fall into them? Do I get to ream into him? Well, you're just going to have to listen and find out. But great interview with chat room member Maxwell. He goes by in the chat room, but we call him Max and a few other different names. But yeah, let's just get to the interview. It's a good one. Now, you said a pretty funny thing, a pretty interesting thing to us. We're going to call you Max, but you granted us permission to call you Maximus if. And what needs to happen for us to call you Maximus?
Someone needs to be conquered. That someone might need to be you, but
okay.
I'll let you slide today.
All right. It was funny. He's like, I only let people that I conquer call me Maximus. So Ches and I got a little nervous thinking, okay, is he here to just pillage and plunder the podcast, or what's going on?
I'm actually taking over Clay Trader. I'm taking over the company.
Yeah. Hostile takeover right now. He's now on the bid.
I can't log into my account. What's going on?
Maximus is here. That's what's going on, Ches. So that'd be kind of freaky. It's actually funny it's actually kind of funny you say that, because right now we're transitioning to a new like chat thing, and there's a few little hiccups here and there. So maybe that has nothing to do with it. And Maximus is already.
Oh no, I've been watching closely. I know what's going on.
Yeah, so he is potentially the cause. So eerie timing here, Ches. Eerie timing. Well, in all seriousness, though, thank you, Max, for taking some time out of your afternoon and joining us. So Max said he's listened to other episodes, so he kind of knows what he's getting himself into. But I think the big question here is, do Ches and I know what we're getting ourselves into? But hey, let's find out. So Max, first question, as I'm sure you are expecting and aware of, what got you interested in this crazy place we call the markets? And what got you interested enough to really kind of get to the point of, yeah, I think I want to actually, potentially put some money on the line here and make some trades?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to thank you guys for having me on here. It's really helpful to have myself on a podcast for explaining to my advisor that I'm actually doing work during my co-op when I'm taking off school time. But getting into how I got into stocks, what's funny? I was thinking last night, and the first time that I ever heard of day trading was when I watched your 10K calorie video. I was big into powerlifting and weightlifting prior.
It worked. It worked. Just my theory worked. That
you don't got to tell me. You got to tell your wife.
I'm just letting people know. When I put that together, I'm like, you know what? I feel like this might be beneficial to what the powerlifting, the bodybuilding community, because there's so many parallels. So I won't get into that. Well, awesome. That is fantastic that you were in powerlifting, and the first time you heard of trading was from me gorging myself. So sorry.
It was wonderful.
Sorry, financial advisor. I realize I'm probably not the most professional host here, but I don't blame me, blame my adrenaline. So sorry to cut you off, Max, but anyways, proceed onwards. That's awesome.
Yeah, but so that was the first time I really heard about day trading, and I thought that it was cool. Like, oh, this guy goes on his computer and makes money, and that's all he has to do. But it was something that I wrote off and just went on with my day. The first real time that I heard about it that I took consideration was when I stopped my RA in my dorm rooms and asked him how he had such a productive, scheduled lifestyle. I noticed that he really was on top of his life, and I kind of wanted to ask for his advice. And he mentioned that he traded equities in the morning before his full-time job, and I was blown away. I was like, wow, okay, you do all this stuff. Maybe I should look into it. And it just pulled me down a rabbit hole. It totally did. I got obsessed, and it just opened up a whole new world.
So because let's say I'm trying to think that the 10K calorie video was not even a year ago.
It was 10 months ago.
Okay, so 10 months ago you saw, or the video was, or when you talked to your RA?
Well, the video was 10 months ago. I talked to my RA 9 months ago.
Okay, all right. So it was everything kind of happened wham for you.
Yeah, I mean, I knew about the stock market. My mom worked on Wall Street for a while. My dad worked on Wall Street for a while. I know a bunch of big big heads up in those companies from them, but it was never something on my radar. I knew about it, but not to the degree that you guys exposed me to.
Really, that's kind of fascinating. So both parents worked on Wall Street. I mean, did they come home and ever talk about it, or
They actually retired from Wall Street before I was really cognizant of the whole thing. My
Gotcha.
mom made enough that we were good to go while my dad was going back to school. So it was something that it wasn't in the lifetime where I was, you know.
Okay, yeah, where you could no, that makes sense then, because I was gonna say, you would think your parents would come home and at least talk about it and you'd hear about it, but given that you were not in the,
It was pre-Maximus. It was
yeah,
just Max at that time.
it was pre-pillaging and plundering. Yeah, exactly. So, all right, well, that makes sense. So, the past 9 months, I mean, what really drew you in to it? I mean, since this is all hopefully relatively fresh, I mean, was it the fact that you could make money at your computer, or was it the fact that you really were drawn to the kind of the appearance of your RA in college? You're like, wow, this guy really has his life together. Kind of what's going on with all that? I mean, what actually kind of drew you in?
Yeah, I mean, my RA, Shrinesh is his name. He's been instrumental in my growth as a trader, but I think that my interest was more from the fact that I was in school for health science. I didn't really know what I wanted to do to make money when I came out of school. And my best idea was, hey, maybe I can coach some people and they'd pay me to do that. And that's not really a professional career path that really would sustain anything for the long term in my eyes. This more was an option for me to build income, get some money behind me so that once I leave school, I have some float and I can do what I want. Along with that, I also just love trading. Trading's awesome for self-development. It has so many aspects to it. And on top of that, yeah, you can make a bunch of money. You work hard, you make money. I mean, there's so many benefits to it.
Yeah, it really does give you a lot of flexibility and freedom, and especially when you're at a time in your life where you're not exactly entirely sure what the next step may provide. So obviously you get interested. It's been about 9 months now. What steps did you take from there?
Well, Shrinesh really helped me out a lot and pointed me in the right direction. He said, listen, you need to go to Investopedia, look at some of these principles. You need to look into charting, you need to look into the foundations, and he gave me a good idea of what I had to look into, gave me the good mindset of you need to work for it, you can't be asking people for hot picks. But I kind of self-teaching this is not my strong suit. So I got some good information. I thought that I knew what I was doing, but really I was just Googling stuff when it came down to it.
When you thought you knew what you were doing, what were you doing that you thought you knew you were doing? So like, does that question make sense?
Yes. So on-demand TD Ameritrade offers that simulated trading, and I always would spend my extra time on there just trying to get better at trading, and that was a false indicator to me that I knew what I was doing, because my fake account would grow because of luck, and it was like a video game. It was a video game. It was nothing more than that. And then I would step onto the real market with my little Robinhood account on my phone, and I'd be losing like dimes at a time. But I'd be like, if I had waited this really good trade first to be larger than the other one, and I just stuck to the system of risk management, then yeah, it would have worked out. I would have been perfect. And I totally just rationalized myself into saying, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing here.
So you essentially, and let me ask this. So that the TD Ameritrade thing, don't you start off with like $100,000 they give you? What's that number? Is it 200,000 or something?
They start you with 100,000.
So did you keep it at 100,000? Did you move it at all? I mean, what did you do with that number?
Oh, no, Clay, I was not professional with it at all. I reset every time it went down, and then I'd have like a good streak, and I was like, oh, see, like this strategy works. Let me reset it and go look at another strategy. Oh, that strategy doesn't work. And it was such a crapshoot. It really wasn't.
So first off, you left it at 100,000, right?
Yes. I left it there.
Because that is the most basic foundational way. As a listener, if you're new, going, well, I don't know, I like how you said that. You said I was not professional about it at all, but I could see a listener saying, well, how do I know if I'm being professional about it at all? The core foundation, the easiest way to know it is, are you using the amount of money that you're going to be using when you go live? Max, actually, I don't want to speak for you. You were not using $100,000 when you went live with your Robinhood. Is that correct?
Not quite. Not quite that much money.
Not quite. So just a little shy of that, like a few pennies, probably.
A few pennies shy.
Yeah. All right. So point here being, you got to practice like you're actually going to trade. And if you're not going to go live with $100,000 or $50,000 or $25,000 or $5,000, then don't be practicing with that amount of money. It's not going to be, it's never a perfect transition from paper trading to real money, but our goal, the quote unquote professional way to do it, is you got to make it as realistic as possible. And hopefully you're saying, well, yeah, of course. And so if you want to keep it realistic and I'm only going to use 1,000, I probably shouldn't be practicing like I had 100,000. But I feel like, and Ches, have we ever had anybody that flat out would just, I mean, it sounds like you were nonchalantly just resetting, like not even, did it even phase you if something didn't work? I mean,
I wish I could give you a really solid answer, but it was, I've never been professional or organized to begin with. So I looked at this all as kind of informal. And I was like, oh, okay, I can use this as a way to practice. But no, it didn't phase me. I didn't see it as a real measure of how good I was getting. I saw it as a practicing tool, and I didn't really care about where the equity curve went. And it was stupid because that's exactly what you should use paper trading for, is to see if you're making money before you go live.
And just to tie into that, the fact that you said that this is kind of like a video game to you, while I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily because you're obviously practicing, at the same time, it's not as serious. Studying for a final in school is a lot different than, playing a video game for fun. So, yeah, I can completely understand that.
And the big difference with that is with that the video game players get in, trouble with is in video games, there's that little thing called the reset button. When it comes to real trading, the only reset button is putting more money into your account, which has to come from somewhere. So, that's another pitfall that I've seen quite a bit with those that kind of come from more so the gaming world, is, paper trading. Yeah. Like you were saying, Max, you can definitely just reset. But, once real money gets on the line, it doesn't quite work like that. So kind of goes without saying, your paper trading was pretty much a disaster and you did everything the way that it shouldn't have been traded. And I think, and I'm not trying to throw your buddy under the bus because it sounds like he gave you a lot of great advice, namely look, you got to do this yourself. You can't rely on others for hot stock picks. So that's a great bit of advice that can really go a long way. But did you tell him about your paper trading, or did he?
Well, no, it really, I told him hey, I didn't even really formally paper trade. I saw on demand as something to spend my time doing. I didn't think of it as paper trading. Okay. Which probably was why I did it so horribly. Now I'm paper trading and I do it completely differently. But when I was doing on demand, I really didn't tell anybody about it. I was just doing it as practice. And I thought of it as I'm the same way as going to the gym. I was like, I'm just going to practice here the same way I practice in the gym. I don't tell anyone that I benched this much today. I'm not going to tell anyone, hey, I made $2,000 on a fake account. So it wasn't something that I thought should be. Yeah,
no, that makes sense. Is you didn't know what you didn't know, meaning you didn't know that this was supposed to be a big deal. Therefore, why would you tell anybody? So it's not like you were trying to hide anything behind your friend's back by, I'm not going to tell him that I'm doing it. You're like, well, whatever. It is what it is. I had no idea that this is supposed to be treated a certain way. So that makes good sense. So how long did you actually do this simulating for before you were like, hey, you know what? Let's open up this Robinhood account and let's put some real money on the line.
That's funny that you ask that. See, I didn't wait all that long. In fact, I think I opened my Robinhood account before I ever even touched on demand.
A little backwards.
No, completely backwards.
Yep.
Completely backwards. Yeah, so I actually opened my Robinhood account and it wasn't really going anywhere. Luckily, I had the idea of risk management from the get-go, but that was the only thing that kept me afloat. So my account pretty much went sideways, and then I was like, on demand could help. And then my account continued to go sideways as I used on demand.
So you didn't actually did you not go all in on a particular name? Did you not have any fool's gold? When you say your account went sideways, that's generally a rare thing that we don't see too often. So what were you putting your money in at that time?
I was trading a lot of ETFs as well as equities that just had high volume. I based everything off of, hey, does it have high relative volume? Does it have high volume just through the day? Does it pop up on a volume scanner for over 1 million shares traded by 10 o'clock in the morning. I just played around with all these factors to see what type of activity I could find with different attributes in these stocks. So it was primarily ETFs and stocks that I traded, and I traded them for 2 to 10 minutes at a time, like holding them, and I would do a few shares, whatever lined up with maybe $3 of risk for a trade, and that's all I would do.
Now, this was all happening from Robinhood. Therefore, you're just hopping in and out on your phone. Is that correct?
Yes, but I had charts up in front of me. I used TD Ameritrade's account before I funded it to look at Thinkorswim, and I really utilized Thinkorswim to the nth degree before I ever started trading. Even before Robinhood, I really looked into the EMAs, all the different studies, and I really thought that I had a foundation in charting when I went into it.
I thought I had a. We'll get to that.
I was going to say the word thought. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get into that. But I do want to. So it's not like it was flat out like you're some sort of degenerate gambler that's sitting there, in your underwear in your dorm room with no computer, and you're doing all this from your phone. Like you actually had a setup. So it's not like it was mass chaos. It sounds like you were doing some things right. Now you were doing a lot of things wrong, as you've already admitted. But it's not like it doesn't sound like a clown show to me, where it was just. I guess that's the best way to set it up. You weren't like a degenerate gambler.
It was a clown show for sure. It was a clown show, but you couldn't see it in my equity curve. That's the only thing.
But it could be a lot worse. I guarantee you, there's been people out there that don't even think about TD Ameritrade or charts or anything like that, and they literally are just. I mean, Ches, would you agree here that because you've talked to a lot of people? But can you imagine some people literally just pulling out this phone app and then they just start trading like every 2 to 5 minutes and not look, or I guess they could technically look at the line chart that Robinhood offers, but I mean, that would be okay. Yours was a clown show, Maximus, but now I'm calling Max. He's conquering us.
He is conquering us.
Oh my goodness. He's like a Jedi mind trick on me.
Yeah.
But I would say that Max was a clown show, but could you see, we'll call it a degenerate gambler clown show. You could see that happening, right, Ches? I mean, as goofy as it sounds.
It's funny you mention that because there's one person I met in college who I still keep in touch with, and his Robinhood account is specifically for gambling on biotech stocks. So that is the only way he utilizes trading for that. He does like safer type trading and other things, but he literally calls it his biotech gambling account. So yes, it's like a perfect, for somebody who wants to gamble or just, a degenerate gambler in general. We're not, obviously that's an issue, and there's a lot more things we could talk about for that. But yeah, the fact that it's just on your phone, I mean, it's as little as him saying, oh, I read something on Reddit, so I just threw, $1,000 in. I'm just like, you're insane. Like, I don't know what you're doing.
Reddit will get you. Reddit will get you.
So do you have some, do you have experience with the message board world? Is that what I'm gathering from that comment there?
Yeah, actually, Shrinesh introduced me to Wall Street Bets, which is
that's what he was using too.
Gambling. No, he doesn't use it. He reads it because he thinks it's funny. I think it's funny too. There's a lot of.
Wait, can you guys fill me in? What is Wall Street Bets? Is it like a TMZ of stock trading or what?
It's a subreddit. Hilarious. Yeah, it's a subreddit. So it's on Reddit and.
Oh, I see. So it's like a sub message board within Reddit itself.
Exactly. And there's just a bunch of college kids who have Robinhood accounts who want to make $1 bajillion, who idolize Martin Shkreli. And it's just absolutely abhorrent. It's disgusting, but it's hilarious
because put their student loans on like they were long oil at the top, and like they're trying to catch the bottom of all these names, and they're just like, well, I just lost all my student loans for the year. I guess I'm not going back, and like my parents are going to kill me.
It's unintentional funny. We're like, It's funny because it's so bad. It's not like people trying to be funny. It's okay. That makes. I might have to check that out, but it'll probably drive me up the wall.
I'll link you to it, but it's literally a train wreck. You'll probably go insane looking at it because it'll drive you that crazy.
So were you getting ideas from these people, Max, or were you just reading it? I guess the better question would be, were you taking this serious at the time? Obviously, now you look back and be like, yeah, that's a clown show. But at that time, did you think like this was like legitimate stuff?
There was one guy. There's a few people on there who make good money, and they post their accounts, and they're the leaders of this group of children who don't know what they're doing. And I saw one post like, "Oh, VRX is going to be at $80 by the end of the year. Everyone knows that," and it was at like $27. And I said, oh, well, $27 to 80, that makes so much sense. And I just had a really bad week. And I was like, I just need one big winner. So I bought like 30 shares of VRX, which is pretty large at that time for my account size. And it it just ruined me because I held it for 3 days, which I never hold anything for more than 10 minutes now. And that was the rule going into it. But I held it for like maybe 2 days, and it did nothing. If anything, lost me like $10 or $20, nothing awful, but it was just like a real slap to the face in terms of, hey, dude, you need to do this yourself because you're looking at a certain time frame, you're looking at a bunch of different factors. Like, this guy could not know what he's doing. Like, you just shouldn't listen to anyone anymore. Like, don't listen to anyone, just learn how to read the charts. And that's what I went off of after that.
Okay, so it was just a nasty experience with VRX, and I mean, do you still visit the Wall Street Bets subreddit or anymore, or you just, if you do, it just for pure entertainment purposes?
It's for entertainment. I mean, me and Shrenesh have jokes back and forth saying that we're gonna get a yacht the color of money, and I sent him in the mail a yachting cap from Amazon. It's a running joke of ours that we have because they're all obsessed with buying yachts on Wall Street Bets. It's a source of laughter, but nothing else anymore.
Okay. All right, that's, man. I'm tempted. I honestly want to go there, but I know the end result is me just my jugular vein popping out as I just sit here and be like, what are these people doing?
I'll have IT Nate make you an account. We'll teach you how to post on there. It'll be funny. You could just you could come in and lay down your knowledge upon them. But no, it is a great source for entertainment, though. That's for sure.
Oh my. All right. So, anyways, this is gonna haunt my dreams now. Should I or shouldn't I go there?
do not. Just don't do it.
Okay. All right. All right. Oh, all right. So you made the comment. You had the bad experience with VRX. All right. Yeah. Last time I listened to anybody, I need to just trust myself. I need to learn how to read charts. So where did things go from that point? Because early you had already mentioned that Ches and I both picked on you. Used the word thought. So was this the time where you thought you knew charts, or is this the time where you were first really getting into them more serious? But where did you go from this kind of revelation in your journey that you concluded I gotta do this myself?
Well, I want to say that at this point, I'd been trading for about 4 or 5 months when the VRX thing went down, which was, I mean, I've had losses bigger than that, but that was just like you're stupid, don't listen to other people, like make a mistake because it was your decision, not someone else's.
Which is a big revelation, though, in anybody's journey. That's one of the things that you gotta realize. So maybe not as big of a loss, but as far as your psychology was concerned, sounds like a big light bulb moment for you.
Yeah. And from there on out, it was very much, I want to say that was early this year. And I said, you know what, I need to go figure this out. And so I just started staring at charts, and I spent, I don't even want to admit how many hours I spent staring at charts for all from January until June. I mean, I stare at charts to this day. The amount of screen time that I got was just crazy. And I think that was the one thing that I thought was going to fix it, or fix me, was if I just got familiar enough with how these stocks behaved that I would get somewhere. But I didn't even know what to pay attention to. And that's what drove me as I made the decision to come home for the summer and trade full time. And I'm also going into, so as I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, I'm going into a co-op program through my school at Northeastern. They're allowing me to take 6 months off of school to trade full time with mentors. And so I have a mentor from JP Morgan Chase, who is high up there. I have Shrenesh, who's also an advisor of mine, who's just a great friend and also advisor. And then, I mean, you, Clay, I've picked up your courses. I'm in the inner circle. I consider the people in the inner circle and the information that you give to be a huge resource.
Oh, crap, Ches. Us and then some guy from JP Morgan. I'm a little nervous. No, I'm just kidding. We're very confident in what we have to offer. And yeah. I mean, you understand the importance of risk management now, and that's all we preach around here. So, well, cool. That's I did not realize all that sort of stuff. So, anyway, sorry to cut you off, but yeah, that's awesome.
So it's developed into something really cool. But so once I just decided to do that, and I was like, okay, I have 6-7 months just to trade. I knew that I had to do something. I don't want to call it scientific, but with a studied process behind it. And I couldn't do that just by staring at charts. I had to start taking notes. I had to start writing up ideas. I had to start writing down my trades more thoroughly. And that's where I got into logging my trades. really tracking the statistics. That's where I got into strategies and building my own strategy around studies and looking at the different proprietary studies that TD Ameritrade had. I mean, those all just kind of kept my wheels spinning for a long time. It was a lot of work that I did just to get nowhere. And then, I mean, I fell into Clay Trader because I was like, hey, what about that guy with a 10K calorie challenge? I bet he could help me out. And so I looked you up on YouTube, not knowing that you had courses, and I said, oh my God, okay, he has all this information. So I just started watching your videos, trying to pick up some information. Mir Barak's another great one on YouTube. But I ended up taking your course. And I think actually your courses have done the most work for me, although I collected as much knowledge as I could over the 9 months that I had, but your courses really organized it and put it into something that felt like a college course.
And that's what I think Clay really goes for. Not to speak for you, but you like to have it really structured, right, Clay?
Well, that's nobody can sit here and say that free education doesn't work, because free education does work. The problem is the amount of money that you pay figuring it out, because randomness is a dangerous, dangerous thing. And yes, there is so much free information on the internet. I cannot sit here and say that, there's not a lot of good, solid, free information out there. The problem becomes when it's random, and when there's so much information, you could be, let's just assume now the chances that you select actually all good free information is small enough in and of itself. But let's just pretend that you have selected all good free information from this vast sea of information. Even if you have all good stuff, if you take it in the wrong order, you're going to start confusing yourself. You're going to trip over yourself. Things aren't going to make sense the way they should. So, and that's what you found Max is, or what I think what Max is saying is, it was nice that everything was presented in a logical manner with not so much randomness. I can't sit here and say that there's some sort of secret discovery in the courses, because there's not. It is what it is. But there is not randomness. It's structured in a way that I've learned over many years of teaching of how it best sinks into people's minds. Where if you talk about that first before this, that's going to confuse people. Or if you talk about that before you talk about that, and then you talk about these two things before you talk about that other thing, okay, yeah, that meshes a lot better with the way people can absorb information. So I have no idea how I got to. Oh yeah, you were saying that you took the course and it felt like a college course. So, but was it like halfway entertaining at least, or was it like boring? Because I try to make them at least a little bit entertaining.
No, it definitely had some good tidbits. Like I didn't find it something that was ultra boring. In fact, I forget when it was. It had to have been in the middle of June when my account was going nowhere and I was getting frustrated. I was like, I'm going to sit here and binge on these courses, and I'm going to take notes on my computer, physical notes. I'm going to just do everything I can. I'm going to make drawings. I'm going to draw up on my chart at the same time. I'm going to watch these case studies. I'm going to go find my own case studies. And I did that for like 3 weeks. And it was amazing to me because I knew all of the components of the course. Candlesticks aren't a secret. Moving averages aren't a secret. Support and resistance isn't a secret. Even some of the stuff that you say that's like the tips, like cutting in line, I don't want to ruin that, but that stuff I knew about. It was just that the implementation and the steps I didn't have. I knew how to read level 2s very well, but I had no idea how to plug it in to the chart. I didn't know how to look at these different indicators and utilize them for what they were. I just knew about them.
Now, to kind of backtrack a little bit, though, because I know you said you had spent a lot of time in on-demand, specifically with Thinkorswim. Did you ever think that you were going to find the quote-unquote holy grail? Because I'm not going to lie, I went down that path and I spent many, many weeks and many, many months trying to find the perfect blend of this indicator with that indicator with these settings and that setting and this time frame. Did you ever kind of feel like that, like you were actually going to stumble upon something like that specifically that would work? Or did you recognize relatively quickly that keeping it simple is generally the best way to kind of spot opportunities? Well,
so that's a great question. It was both. It was twofold. So, and not so much of the holy grail thing. I mean, my mentor Shrinesh, he kind of told me what he was doing in terms of moving averages, and I looked at it, I was like, okay, that makes sense. Like, yeah, when this crosses over, then it's a buy signal, and that, like, he gave me what I had to do because it works for him. He's an amazing trader. He does some crazy stuff, and I was like, okay, well, it works for him. it's got to work. Like the back testing's there, it's got to work. So I used that strictly for a long time, thinking like it has to work. If it's not working, it's because I'm not using it correctly, which I mean is kind of true. But then I kind of came to the realization that one system isn't going to work for everyone because you're not going to be able to use it properly. And it's come down to you need to figure out what works best for you and how you interact with the market. Like I've sat awake thinking like, oh man, there's got to be a better system. Yes, but I've never thought that there was a holy grail because it just wouldn't make sense. Then there'd be one person making money, not telling anyone else, or everyone would be making money and the market wouldn't work.
Exactly. And you bring up a great point. And I've talked about it in many of the past videos. Whether or not you saw it on the past video is besides the point, but one strategy very well could work for somebody else. But that's why you can't sit there and anybody that preaches or is trying to sell you, I have the strategy that works and it's going to turn you into a millionaire. Well, you know what? I'm not saying that person's not a millionaire. I'm not saying that strategy doesn't work for the person that's sitting there proclaiming it. But that person may love to go skydiving. And if you're sitting there like, no, I don't like skydiving. Well, then guess what? Your personal risk tolerance is not the same as that other person. And if your personal risk tolerance is not the same, and we're all different creatures of risk tolerance. Like I said, some people like skydiving, other people like myself, no, that's not going to happen. So therefore, we're going to be looking at a same strategy. We're not going to feel. What'd you say, Max? You said like the way you feel the market, or I can't remember exactly what you said, but that's exactly what it is you got to find your groove in the market. You got to find out how you jive with the market. And the big function of jiving is, well, what do you feel comfortable with? What is your risk tolerance at? If your risk tolerance is different than somebody that, wants to, jump out of an airplane, well, then, yeah, their strategy may work for them, but it's not going to work for you. So that's a great real life example of how, your one buddy, hey, he does well. His strategy works for him, but it just wasn't quite working for you because, well, I mean, you're not your buddy, right? We all have different psychologies and, we approach the market in different ways, circling back to what is our personal risk tolerance. So, good point there. Now, I want to talk about this because I've seen your journaling in the chat room and I've seen you explain some things. But can you go into a little bit more depth about what are you journaling? Because I know a lot of newer traders and heck, even a lot of people that have been trading, journaling is a big part of their trading. Do you have to journal? I'm not going to say that. I don't personally journal anymore or anything like that. But some people, I would say it's great for new people. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about your journal? What sorts of things are you putting in there? And, we'll see where this rabbit hole goes.
Yeah, so journaling, I think, is a really powerful tool because it keeps you in check. Like, I don't think that you journal because you don't need to, Clay. You're a very advanced trader. You're not going to be making the simple mistakes that beginner traders are going to make. But having journaling as a beginner, intermediate trader really gives power to you in noticing your mess ups. It says, hey, like, that your risk tolerance is this. Why did you lose more than that? Or, hey, that. So like some of the things that I write down, I'll always take a screenshot so that I know what strategy I'm playing. And if there's not a setup there, then I take a note of it and I say, hey, this was a horrible trade. Why'd you take this? And the only reason that I'll take a crappy trade is because the risk reward is there. And that's not always acceptable. But that's the whole thing is you don't need to. I don't want to say need, but I like to have a guideline of how I've been performing, what aspects I've been fulfilling and which ones I've been ignoring, and how that affects my trading. It's kind of like just keeping the bumpers up for bowling. It keeps you on the straight and narrow before you can start to freestyle like a real pro does.
So you say you take a screenshot. So are you taking a screenshot and then like printing that out and then writing notes on the screenshot, or is just like the screenshot, you're just keeping it all digital? How exactly does the logistics work from that end of things?
Yeah, so I think I've actually sent my Excel to a few people in the inner circle, but I use all Excel. It's all digital. I don't think I ever kept real notes for my trade log. It just keeps everything more organized. But yeah, so I take a screen clipping and I mark in Thinkorswim my buy and sell points with the red and green ovals. And then I just type in my trade plan, which I have a little log format that's preset. It does all my math for me to see my risk reward, see my costs, see my, every factor that I really want. and then I plan my trade in that dialog box and execute, and then I write down the transactions on the right hand column as like the final what went down. And I take notes like saying, hey, I moved my profit lockup to this underneath the EMA, blah, blah, blah. And it helps me look back to a week ago and say, oh, I remember how I executed that trade.
And so what would you classify as a bad trade then?
There are lots of things that classify bad trades. I mean, if the risk is too high, so if it exceeds my set cash amount of risk, if the risk reward isn't in line with the ratio that I usually set, which is I'm always trying to win way more than I'm trying to lose, right? Isn't that what everyone agrees on? So I need to keep that above my threshold, and if I don't, that's a bad trade. If there's no volume, if there's just no buy signal based on any of my strategies, I've been freestyling recently, but I have like a handful of strategies that I can identify pretty quickly, or the setups that I can identify pretty quickly. And if it doesn't fulfill one of those setups, then it's just a speculation trade. And if there aren't any attributes of the chart that make the speculation valid, then that's usually what would make it a bad trade.
So here's a set. You have volume. It's like one of your favorite setups, and the risk versus reward is oh so beautiful, and then it turns out to be a loss. So in your journal, do you write down bad trade?
Oh no, I write down usually I'll write down awesome trade because I'll get to use my risk mitigation points and have it be break even. Like if I have a break even trade when it goes against me, I'm excited because it costs me nothing.
Well, no, in this case though, it's a losing trade. So volume, beautiful setup, RVR is
but just complete
beautiful,
loss.
but it's a losing trade. Is
If
that do you write a bad trade?
No, if everything was there and it was just luck of the draw, then no, it's not a bad trade. It's luck of the draw.
Chaz, I was trying so hard.
I know you were.
I was setting tripwires all over the place, and he sidestepped every one of them. For those of you listening, please go back and rewind that. That's exact. I mean, financial advisors, I promise none of that was scripted. I was totally trying to get him to trip up there so I could, jump down his throat and, teach him a lesson. But yeah, for you, those of you listening, just because you lose money on a trade, that doesn't mean it was a bad trade. Sometimes things don't work out. This may be news to some of you, but there's no such thing as a guarantee in the market. To Max's point earlier, if there was guarantees, that means everybody would do it. And if everybody did it, everybody would win. And then it's circular logic. Well, then the markets just wouldn't work. So losing trades. Now, if you're forcing the trade, if you're getting speculative because it's not meeting the criteria like Max said, well, then yeah, that's a bad trade. It's not a bad trade because you lost money. It's a bad trade because you're breaking your own rules. And that can lead to losing money. But I don't really need to say anything more. Max's answer was perfect. That heck, he would be proud of himself because he was disciplined and took a small loss. So Max, none of that was set up, right? You had no idea that I was trying to or did you have an idea that I was trying to?
No, I really didn't. I've watched like one or two podcasts in the background while I'm doing my Excel sheet. I don't really like your stuff, Clay. I don't know what you talk about that much. So no, it wasn't planned. Don't worry.
Well, then screw you.
All right, make sure you pass on your shipping address so we can send you a free.
Yeah. So, well, that just made my afternoon. That was the perfect answer. And for some young stupid college kid, you're actually kind of smart. So, I mean,
you were trying to bait him so hard. I was like, is he gonna fall for it? I don't think
I wasn't even using like strips of meat. I was using like a big old 64-ounce steak. Like, here you go, Max. Here you go. But yeah, so yeah, perfect outlook. And again, in all seriousness, go back if you're new and still don't wait. I don't understand what the big deal is there. Re-listen to that because way too many people equate losing trade with bad trade. Therefore, I suck as a trader. That's a flawed logic chain there because losing is part of the game, but you just got to be smart about it and do it in the right way. So, would you say that all this, documentation sounds like a lot of work? Yes, but you got to put in the effort. I mean, is it helping you out? Is it helping to keep you accountable? And when you do make mistakes, it sounds like it would be glaringly obvious.
Yeah, it's before on Robinhood, I had my equity curve right in front of me every time I'd open the app, and it'd be like going down slightly, and I'd ignore it because I had a justification in my head. When you have all of the data set out in front of you and it's all sorted and collated and statistics are run on it, there's no question about it. You can't justify in your head. You have to say, hey, listen, this is the reality. This is what I've been doing. And it tells you, it shows you which direction you're going. Are you going the right direction or the wrong direction? And that's it.
So what exactly do you like to have on your charts? Do you have, the MACD, the RSI, some moving averages? What specifically does your chart look like?
Yeah, and I'm very curious also because you've clearly run lots of data. You're doing this because your butt's on the line in a sense because, I mean, you're taking time off school, so you got to justify that, you're getting a lot out of this. So you've clearly done lots of research, lots of tracking, back testing. So yeah, to just piggyback off, that, what does your chart exactly look like? Do you have like 80 different indicators or what?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much what everyone else says, isn't it? It's simplicity. And I don't say that because that's where I went first. Like I was just like everyone else in that there has to be a great indicator that breaks everything down for me. But really, I mean, Clay, I think that you said it before me, although I realized it pretty early on. There's nothing but the price action and the volume, and everything else are calculations based off of those two things. And so no matter how you really want to break down the indicators, like, you have your raw data. It's how you want to process it. So I keep it down to, I think, 2, maybe 3 moving averages and volume. I used to use the MACD because that's what Shrinesh used a lot. I think the MACD is pretty powerful. But other than that, I don't see the need for anything else, because once you start breaking down patterns, and I mean, patterns sometimes play a bigger role than the indicators do, and they negate them. So I think that building this intuition of mine by looking at charts, just looking at like 2 or 3 EMAs, volume and price action, has been really good for me.
Awesome. So you are definitely keeping it simple, stupid, and applying the KISS method. MACD, I will agree. It's got its uses for sure. Yes, his buddy who's successful uses it. Yes, Max uses it. But please don't go home and spend like the next 3 weeks neglecting your wife or your girlfriend or your kids or your job, like on some sort of holy grail mission revolving around the MACD. I mean, it's useful, yes, but just don't go do that, because there isn't anything perfect out there. And I didn't admit to it yet, but I was definitely also, when I got started on the quest for the holy grail. I remember when I worked for Honeywell as an engineer, I'd get home at like 3, and then from like 3 to 7, that's why, Max, you should not really be ashamed of how much time you've stared at charts, but like from 3 to 7, 3 to 8, like I would just stare at charts and look for some sort of, it was bad. And I didn't find it. Ches didn't find it. We have Max here who's doing all sorts of great logging and stuff. He hasn't found anything. And if it is out there, somebody's certainly not selling it. So those people that are, Ches, what's your favorite? What's the 4X robots or whatever? What's your little favorite?
Yeah, the what was it, $60 a month for my 4X robot that trades the Ichimoku cloud, and it only trades when the times are right, and it only makes one trade a decade. So yeah, no, it's totally worth it because it's a blend of 40 indicators.
Yeah, that just is not out there. So Max, as it stands right now, because looking at the time, we'll have to start to wrap things up. But where are you at in your trading right now? Are you still in paper trading mode? Have you transitioned into any actual money right now? Where do things stand? What are you focused on? Are you just doing stocks? Are you looking at options? But fill us in on where you currently stand.
I just got my email today saying that my Lightspeed account was funded. So I'm going live tomorrow. Pretty excited about it. I think I left a little bit in my TD Ameritrade account, but I'm not going to be trading there because commission's ridiculous. And
preach it, brother. Preach it.
Yeah, it's just stupid. So Lightspeed live tomorrow. That's where I'm at.
And stocks or options?
Stocks, definitely. I primarily trade equities, although sometimes those 3 times leverage ETFs, man, they move real pretty.
Would you got any favorite? I'm trying to think. What are the good ones out there right now that aren't trading for like 50 cents because they haven't reverse split them yet? Do you have any favorite ETFs that you may be watching? Literally now, by the time this airs, Max will have been trading for a couple of weeks already. But as it stands at the time of this interview, do you have any in your mind that you may be have a little higher priority that you might check out before others?
No, my highest priority is, when it comes down to it, I look at your scans and I see if there's anything that has a really nice chart from your scan. And then if there's only 1 or 2 things, I look at my volume scans. And then if there's nothing else, that's when I go to the ETFs like UWTI, Dust. Nugget's too pricey for me. But definitely not UGAZ either. UGAZ and DGAZ are scary. But those ETFs, the scary ETFs are the ones that I use in the last ditch when nothing else is moving. Other than that, it comes down to volume and what's being played that day.
Okay, so I have a question here. So they're too scary for, well, first off, define scary. Like scary, like I shouldn't be trading them, or scary because they move so fast, but I can handle it? Define scary.
Scary is volatility for me. I mean, they move a lot faster than everything else. They usually have a wider spread. They're harder to play in general. But when the whole market's like taking a nap, like it has been for the beginning half of the summer, they're really nice to play because they actually have activity and they're not too jumpy, so long as there's no report coming out that day or something like that.
Okay, so it's not scary in the sense of I don't want to be trading these because it's too much for me. Just you kind of like scary good, like they're really like, is that like you're like a hippie? Not sorry, not a hippie way, but like a cool way of saying, what am I trying to think? Oh, like kids are like, oh, that is sick. Well, they obviously don't mean it's sick. They mean like
no,
it's good.
It's kind of like when the market's awake and moving, they're too volatile for me to trade. They have too wide. No, not always the spread, but they move too fast for me. When there's a slow day, I can handle them. Let's put it that way. They can get to be scary, but on a slow day, they provide the most action that you're going to find.
Okay, because what I was getting at is I was going to, offer some constructive criticism, but now it makes sense. Is I took it at first as, well, if this, and that are not happening, then I'll go to one of these vehicles that I'm scared to trade, but because there's no other choices left, I'm just going to throw myself into something that I'm scared to do, which is not a smart move. But what you're saying is if those other three criteria are just not there, well, that implies that the market is a slow day, which would imply that these are no longer scary because they've slowed down. Is that what you're getting at there?
That's what I've found. Yes.
Okay. Then that's fine, because that's different than, well, these other things aren't there, so therefore my only choice is to do something that I'm scared to do just for the sake of making a trade, because that would be straight up forcing a trade. And as you know, that's not something that we should be doing as traders. So, all right, that makes sense. I thought I was going to get you there, but shoot.
Max, you've done pretty well. You've pretty much almost pillaged this podcast. And,
yeah,
with the mind inceptions, and it's been great.
He's lived up to the hype. He has definitely lived up to the hype. So, I mean, what are your routines right now? I mean, what do you foresee? What have your routines been? Hopefully none of them are going to be changing when you go live, but I mean, are you doing your homework the night before? Or are you just letting it see what unfolds the day of? But walk us through kind of a routine that you use to get yourself ready for the trading day.
I'm still kind of in summer mode. I am a student. This is my time off. And I mean, just a week or two ago, I technically went on co-op. Everyone's still in orientation. So I'm pretty slow right now in terms of what I'm doing. Most recently, I've just been rolling out of bed, hopping on the market, looking at my volume scanners and playing what pops up. And that's been working out great. But usually when I'm more on my game, I'm doing homework the night before in terms of breaking down charts. I do a lot of homework over the weekend to scour the market, see if any patterns are setting up. In the morning of, I like to wake up early, go to the gym, get a healthy breakfast, and then have my mind wake up before I'm looking at charts. But it seems like the last 2 weeks of my summer have been wake up, roll out of bed, shower, and get on the market, and it works just as well for me. So I'm not too scared about switching back and forth between those two.
Well, it sounds like in general, if those are all pretty much the same routine in the sense of you don't just actually just open your eyes and then hop right in the market. You got to take a little bit of wake your mind up and make sure you're kind of ready for the day. So that's obviously what's important. So obviously, I'm sure the only reason you did agree to come onto this podcast was to utilize my time machine. And
he's going to steal that thing. I don't think he'll give it back. I mean, he'll just straight up take it and conquer. I'm
sending it with the armed guards this time, so we'll have to see how it goes. But obviously, you've taken 45 minutes of your time just to kind of hang out and talk with us. So obviously, now I can let you kind of use it. So if I was to lend you my time machine and let you go back to when you first started trading, what advice would you give yourself?
All right, so this would probably be up until the day or the week prior to me taking Clay's courses. I would just yell at myself, you don't know anything. Stop telling people that you trade stocks, and to keep working as hard as I had been. Work a little bit smarter, but keep working hard. But you don't know anything. That's what I would say to myself, is you do not know anything.
That's did you read the quote that I posted on my social media today, Max?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
All right,
No.
because talk about aligning. So once in a while I'll post a quote on social media, and the quote from this morning is, "I know that I am intelligent because I know that I know nothing." And that's essentially what you wish you could go back and yell at yourself.
I actually did not see that, Clay. I promise.
Yeah, that's about as good of timing. Ches, what is going on? He is totally getting ready.
He's making sure all the listeners. Yeah, he's making sure the listeners feel.
Is Max's face on the website now? What's
He's
going
making
on?
By the
sure
way,
that the listeners feel-
www.maxriffon.com. That is
Yeah.
my trading website.
Yeah. And I think they just bought the URL of claytrader.com. Okay, yeah, so that's awesome. So good advice that you would have given yourself, and just insane timing there. So we are now going to move into some of the fun questions here, the important questions. Yeah. And I'm sure the questions that your advisors really care about. So, I mean, they're probably been sitting on, they probably fast forward to this point. Let's get serious. This is what everybody cares about. But Max, what is your favorite movie?
Oh man, I have a ton of them, but the one that always comes to mind is Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
American classic.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's just a classic. There's nothing more you have to say about that. So, what about your favorite meal and dessert?
Favorite meal is sushi.
And you can't say chicken breasts and egg whites, okay?
Oh my, no. You know what? Okay, I'll be honest. I actually just survive off of chicken tenders. When I'm at school, all I eat is chicken tenders. That's it. But my favorite meal is sushi. My favorite dessert is probably ice cream. There's an amazing place. I don't know if anyone's in New Jersey. I know that I saw some people in the inner circle who are in New Jersey. In East Hanover, New Jersey, Last Licks Ice Cream. The best ice cream you'll ever have, all homemade, delicious. I need to plug them. That's my favorite dessert ever.
And nobody here, well, I don't know, Max may be getting compensated, but Ches and I, we're just kidding. That sounds, I actually, after that description, I want to go to New Jersey right now just to try it out. So I feel like, what is your hobby? And clearly you like to lift weights and that sort of stuff, but is that like your main hobby, or do you like to do some other stuff too?
Well, it's actually funny. When I was transitioning over to trading, I had like this little mental war with myself. I was like, but you love lifting. You love lifting. You lift all the time. Like, you have to keep lifting. And then it was, but there's so much work, and you need to get the sleep, and you need to get your schedule on time for trading. And it was kind of like the duel of young Max and mature Max. And it's like, I need to start thinking about my future. So I let lifting go from 4 hours a day down to 1 hour a day. Now I also try to golf once a week or so if I can. I'm trying to pick up as many things as I can, really.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say you shouldn't give up lifting because it is healthy, but holy crap, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's still healthy at 1 hour a day. I think that'll still, be good for the body itself. Because I mean, this is definitely, trading will make you fat if you're just trading and that's all you do. That's why I try to encourage people, myself included. If you look at some of the videos way back when, yeah, it's like, holy smoke. So you got to be very careful with trading because it'll sneak up on you because it's not the most active thing. So yeah, but what do you do for 4 hours during a lifting? How can you lift for 4 hours? Are you taking like 5-minute breaks between each set or what?
No, I mean, when I say I used to be into powerlifting, I mean, I was really into powerlifting. I competed for my college team. I weighed, nice. I think I was like 360 pounds at my heaviest. I benched 425. I squatted 572. I deadlifted 600. So like I really just dedicated all of my time to lifting weights. And once I got into trading, I was like, okay, I should lose some weight. So I started going down from 360. I'm now down to like 300 to 310, depending on how much ice cream I have from Last Licks. But I mean, it was my only thing. Like in the same way that I have a real drive for trading and trading takes up most of my day, that was lifting for me back then.
I was going to say, 4 hours a day, that's practically a part-time job, almost a full-time job at that point. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Obviously, you were serious about it. But now what would you say three words you think should be associated with successful trading?
Oh, man. I would say drive to succeed. I would usually say like 3 characteristics, like, perseverance, hard worker, good work ethic or something. But it's just, you need to really want to succeed. That's it.
Boom. Want to succeed, drive to succeed. I'll take it. That's short, simple, and that's how I like it. So, yeah, very well done. Well, Max, wrapping things up here. So I know I called you a stupid college kid earlier, but that was joking. In all seriousness, you're a very smart. I would never guess that you were in college based off the interview. So well done. Thank you for not taking. Well, I'm still not sure if you've conquered us or not. I got to check the website.
Give it a few weeks. You'll know in a few weeks.
Okay, worry. Yeah. So when everything begins to transition, but again, in all seriousness, man, thanks for hanging out. This was a good time. Ches and I, we got some good laughs. We learned a lot of great things, and well done to you for sidestepping all of my booby traps that I was setting for you, because I was trying to trip you up. Maybe that makes me a jerk. I don't know, but I was definitely trying to see if I could get you. But you answered flawlessly, and tomorrow, I mean, go get it. Just do what you've been doing, and keep that risk under control, and we'll see how things turn out for you. So again, thank you very much, sir.
No, thank you guys very much for having me on.
For those of you listening, if you enjoyed this and want to listen to more, then a few things I'd like to request. If you're listening on our website itself, click that share button. Little clicks like that really do go a long way into letting people know that Ches and I were not wasting our time doing this. Max, isn't wasting his time taking time out of his day. Comments are always appreciated too. We do read those. If you're listening on iTunes or any of the other podcast players, subscribe. Please leave us a rating. We really do appreciate those. And then finally, for those of you on YouTube listening, check out the channel itself. There's a lot of other content other than podcasts, live trade videos, chart analysis videos, quick tip videos, lots of good stuff. So check it out, and hopefully you decide to subscribe to the channel itself. So thank you again to Max. Thank you again to all of you listeners. We'll see you back for the next episode.
This has been the Stock Trading Reality Podcast. Thanks for taking the time to hang out. To learn more about Clay and the Clay Trader community, including the trading team, premium training, and more, visit claytrader.com.